Okay, thanks for hopping on, everyone. It's our December 2017 call, last call of the year. I can't even believe it. It feels like just yesterday we were talking about doing the first call of the year. I have no idea where this year went. It has flown by, but it's been a fabulous year, and I am ready to welcome with open arms 2018. So let's get started. I'm going to share a few things first, and then I will hand it over to our guest speaker, Jess, for tonight. Let me find my, geez. All right, can you see my keynote, my presentation? Okay, thanks, Jess. Okay, last team call. First up, recognition. So we have some November life changers. Jess Box hit Success Club 6. Dawn Kruger hit Success Club 6. And this was a big deal for Dawn. She reached Success Club for the first time, and she achieved Emerald in the same month. So pretty exciting stuff for her. So awesome job, Dawn. Also, Lola, Amy, Diana, Casey, and Adrian all changed lives in the month of November. So awesome job. Just a reminder, if you don't mind, because I forgot to do it before I shared my screen, to mute you all. So if you guys can mute yourself, you can mute. That would be awesome. All right, so our December dates, as you can see, it's pretty not a lot going on. So just a reminder, there is no power hour this month because it's close to the holidays. So we are eliminating power hour this month and making this our last team call. We do still have a coach open house, and our coach open house is next week at 9 p.m. Just a reminder, it is really, really awesome if you guys can even just show up at 9 o'clock and post your response for why you became a coach. That's basically all it is. I actually have my response saved, so all I have to do is copy and paste. It makes it so simple to participate in that first post. So if you don't mind doing that, that would be awesome. The more coaches we have show up for that open house, it just shows the how different we all are, yet how we all work towards a common goal. So I would love for people to see more coaches show up on that first post in the open house. Can someone send Amy Zuckett the Zoom link? I cannot send it to her right now while I'm sharing my screen. Thank you, Jacqueline. Okay, so this is just from corporate, our December focus. We have 80-day obsession. So I don't even know these yet. I need to still learn them, but there are challenge packs and accessory bundles. If you listen to the National Wake Up Call, they talked about it on there a little bit today. There have also been trainings in the Team Beachbody Champions page. If you are not a member of that, I highly recommend getting in that Facebook group because there's tons of awesome training in there. And they have calls with Autumn, and they're going over all these challenge packs and accessory bundles because it's different. A lot of them, they still have traditional ones that include Shakeology, but they also have bundles that include the performance line. They're really encouraging people to use the performance line with this program. And if you have any questions about Recover or Energize, post it in our team page and you'll get a feel for who is using Recover and Energize. I personally use both and love them and think they will help tremendously with 80-day obsession. So if you're planning on doing that program, I highly recommend you checking them out. But like I said, if you have any questions, post in our team page and we can share more about it. So that is coming out. It's coming out next month in January, but the accessory bundles and challenge packs and everything are going to be available this month so people can be prepared to actually start on January 15th when it's launched. A Little Obsessed will be back on Beachbody On Demand on December 20th. There's also the Diamond Poll, and the Success Club reward this month is an 80-day obsession, either a tank top for women or the t-shirt for men, and then also the workout mat. So that's a kind of sweet Success Club prize deal. All right. This is just a heads up for January. So some of us talked and we decided that we are going to do a team-wide 3-day refresh. January 2nd through the 4th. And how we're going to do it is I'm going to actually open up an event. So the event is actually going to run from January 2nd to January 4th. So you will be able to post your accountability and all that stuff in our event, and you have the ability to invite people to join you too. So I hope that we can all kick off the year together. If you want to join us, make sure you get your 3-day refresh soon so you'll have it set to go those days. It's like a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday of that week. And then also Super Saturday is January 6th. So this is also a great way to kick off the year. Attending a Super Saturday, you can attend with coaches in your area. You can bring a guest. I know that Pittsburgh has a huge event that's going to be Friday and Saturday. We have Carl Deichler coming to Pittsburgh, and we have Joel Freeman coming to do a 12-round core to force workout. It's going to be awesome. So make sure you check out your area, what Super Saturday is going on near you. All right. I'm going to be handing it over to Jess. So I asked her to speak tonight because she has been doing amazing. And I feel like a few months ago, she kind of just made the decision to recommit, went all in, and has been doing some amazing things ever since. And I think this is important to hear about because especially as we, go through the year and we get, we have certain circumstances going on or get busy or life situations, whatever is going on, and maybe your momentum with your business, just maybe you're taking a few steps backwards or like 100 steps backwards, whatever it may be. We've all been there. And yes, keeping up that momentum is ideal, but it is no reason to give up or think that you can't do this business because you lost that momentum or you took a break. And I think that going into 2018, this is an excellent time to hear about this and hear what Jess is doing and how she managed to jump back in and have awesome success, because not only did she hit Success Club 6 last month, but the month before that she hit Success Club 10. So she truly has jumped all in and has had a lot of success with that. So with that being said, I'm going to stop sharing and I'm going to hand it over to Jess.
All right, let's see if I can figure out how to share my screen. Maybe present. Can you see that? I'm going to hope yes, because I can't see you anymore.
Yes, you're good.
Thank you. All right. Well, thank you so much, Michelle. I'm really excited, one, to talk to you all tonight, and two, just really honored that you asked me to present. I'm going to tell you a little bit more about my story in a minute, but I lead trainings and presentations a lot and don't really practice. And I went through my whole presentation as practice when I got home from work today. So hopefully I remember what I thought I was going to say when I practiced, but very excited to talk to you all today. So I want to talk about a couple of things. One, I have been a coach, as you'll hear in a moment, for the last 2 years. And so I know a lot of you kind of, but I haven't gotten the chance to talk to many of you one-on-one or meet many of you in person. So I want to start by sharing just a little bit about my story, and then talk about two big things that have been really helpful to me in jumping back in with both feet and finding the success that I have over the last 2 months, one of which is finding your why. And the second of which is going all in. And for the second one in particular, I'm going to get a little bit more tactical and just share some of the things that I've done in hopes that they will be helpful tips that you all can use as well. So I want to start with my story. I have just celebrated a couple of months ago my 2-year anniversary of finding Beachbody. So the picture that you see in the upper left-hand corner there is a little bit of my transformation. So I started with 21 Day Fix in October of 2015. And before that, the picture that you see there from May of 2015 was my graduation from graduate school. And while I was in graduate school, I was busy doing school, I was also working full-time at a job that had me traveling across the country pretty often, almost every week. And so doing that, I had really just let my health and fitness go. I had gained a lot of weight and was traveling all the time and really, really busy, and wasn't prioritizing exercise and wasn't prioritizing my nutrition. And so had gained a lot of weight. And at the point where I found 21 Day Fix in October of that year, I had moved back to DC where I had been before, was busy in my job, was no longer in school, and was sort of trying to find my footing again in the city that I had spent a lot of time in before, but had been gone from for 3 years. So was just not happy in a lot of areas of my life, but particularly not happy just given the weight that I had gained and not really feeling comfortable in my skin. So my coach, Diana Philo, I had seen her posting a lot of just really positive messages, and she seemed really happy and in a great place in her life. And she posted something about this challenge group that she was leading. And I was like, I don't really know what that means. I don't really know what that is, but she seems very happy and I am not particularly happy. So I'm going to figure out what this is, and I'm going to do it. So I actually reached out to her and said that I wanted to join her. I was actually so gung-ho about getting started that she was feeding me breadcrumbs. I know now. And I was like, well, I haven't gotten the information. This thing is starting. So I just went and purchased on my own. Did not get a challenge pack or do any of the things that I was supposed to do. Eventually then went back, ordered Shakeology, eventually got a challenge pack, but was really excited and started my journey just really for the weight loss. So like I said, I didn't buy a challenge pack when I started. So I was very skeptical of Shakeology, didn't use it at first, and then got a little sample in my 21 Day Fix packet that I got, and so tried it and was finding some success in that first week using the shake. And so I was like, all right, what is this thing? I will order it, I guess, to keep seeing that success, but definitely didn't think it was going to be something I did long term. And Diana reached out to me after I got it again for the second month and was like, you could get a discount on that if you became a coach. And so I became a coach purely for the discount. I did not think really that actually even Shakeology was something I would do long term. I was like, if I'm going to do it for a little bit of time to help me lose this weight, I might as well get the discount and I can stop being a coach after that. So I was the most discounty of coaches for quite a while. Diana added me into our Team Fit and Focused page. And so I had the challenge group that I was in, and I had our Team Fit and Focused page. And I was noticing, and I started sort of becoming Facebook friends with many of the folks in our team, and started noticing that my Facebook feed changed a tremendous amount. It just became so much more positive with all of the things that people were sharing, both in our groups and just the things that the other coaches on our team shared in general. And so that was sort of my first inkling to say I wonder what this is all about. This is a really positive group of people. But I remained a purely discount coach for quite a while, and finally decided to do the new coach training that Michelle led in the summer of 2016. And that was when I first actually came out as a coach. I actually don't think I'd told my parents or closest friends or anything that I was a coach. It was not something that I talked about before. So did my first coach coming out post in July of 2016. And I would say from then until this most recent jump into the business, I have been a real dabbler. I have never really gotten into it before now. So when I did that first post, I got a lot of positive feedback. I signed up a few challengers. I'm sure Diana thought that I was crazy. Every Super Saturday I went to, I'd be like, yay, I'm all in, here I go. And then I would be in for a couple of weeks or a couple of months and do a little bit and just not really stick with it. And so I actually had never achieved Success Club until October was the very first time I got Success Club 5. And like Michelle said at the start, I got Success Club 10 in that month, which I was really proud of. So that was sort of my coaching journey. And I'm going to talk about sort of what got me there in a moment, but just wanted to share a few other things about me from the pictures here. So I am someone, I now live in LA, which I'll get to in a moment, but I am someone who loves to travel and loves to explore and adventure. So the next picture that you see there is me in Paris. I did a solo trip there last fall, which was really incredible. I was working a very busy job and it was really nice to just have some time to adventure by myself. My job is a really important part of what I do and who I am. I work in education and I'm really passionate about what I do. I work really hard and I'm really ambitious in that area. So that's something that's really important to me. And then the next picture you'll see is my surprise. I did Shakeology for a whole year, got my 365-day Shakeology thing, which I was really excited about and not what I thought I would do. And then the picture below, like I said, I lived in DC for almost 10 years. And so that's a picture of me there. And a big part of my story right now is I moved to Los Angeles in July of this year for a new job. So I went from this job where I was traveling all of the time and working really hard in that way. I worked with school districts around the country on their strategy. And I moved for a new job in LA, where I am now the vice president of curriculum instruction and assessment for a large network of public charter schools here. So sort of moved across the country, moved to a brand new city where I don't know anyone, and started a crazy busy new job. And then that's me just this week, where I got my 2-year Shakeology container, which I was very proud of. So start with all of that, because a lot of that context led me to jumping back in and recommitting and jumping in with 2 feet, like I said, in October. So I started a new job in July. It was very busy, as I expected. It also had a lot of components of it that I did not expect. So a lot of the strategy of our organization overall, I don't always feel like is going in the right direction. And I have a team who needs a lot of support. And so I have been working a tremendous amount, and often working on things that I don't feel are leading us in the direction we need to go, which has been really frustrating and disappointing in making such a big change. So I got to a point in September where I was working all the time, really miserable and unhappy in doing it. And I was like, again, sort of now as I say it, makes me think back to when I started Beachbody at the beginning. I was like, I've got to do something different. And coaching is something that I know has brought me sort of happiness and positivity into my life before. Like, I'm going to jump in with this and just give it a chance and really see what I can do with it in my life. And so decided to really go all in at that point and just see. I told myself, I will do this till Christmas and see what happens. And so that is how I got here. So went really all in October. So the first thing that was really critical to me, and so I'd say one last thing here, I did jump in with both feet, but in many ways it was jumping in with both feet for the first time. I'm going to talk more about this throughout, but I've always sort of had one foot out and 1 foot safely on shore, which I think has held me back over time. So the first thing that was really important to me in this sort of new phase of coaching, of jumping back in, was finding my why. And I know that that is something that I've heard about a million times at every Beachbody thing I've sort of gone to or listened to. And it's actually been something that I've really struggled with over the course of my time as a coach, because many of the whys that I have heard leaders in our organization and leaders on our team shared were things that were different from my reality. So I'm single, I don't have kids, staying home was not something I was working towards. I have a career that I am passionate about and ambitious in, and is a career that I think is helping people and sort of bringing positivity into the world. And so that's something that I've heard from people who had corporate jobs before, I was missing something that was contributing and giving back. And that wasn't something that sort of resonated with me either. So I've really struggled over time to figure out what value am I adding in this business? Why am I sort of doing this? It's something that has just sort of stuck for me, and I've continued to want to do over the time that I've been doing it, but I didn't have a really clear why. And so for me, I was in this really low place personally. And part of what has helped me is, I'm going to talk about sort of personal development throughout. Part of what has helped me is doing personal development that I think of as personal development. So I started with listening to a couple of Brené Brown books that really just helped me sort of begin to dig out of this negative place that I was in. And I also listened to various podcasts, 5 Minute Friday with Lewis Howes, your Kick-Ass Life podcast with Andrea Owen, things that are really about me and developing my person and developing what do I want in my life. And so that has really helped me for the first time to think about a why for me that's beyond just my career, and wanting to actually think about all the other things that I want for my life that are beyond just my career. So things like having time to do that exploration and travel, having the flexibility to do that, and having time to be outside and explore nature and spend time with family and friends, and lots of things that for me, coaching are sort of a way of helping me do that. And really, coaching for me has sort of helped me re-find my spark. I feel like I sort of lost it in this most recent job and being so focused on that. And so that's been something that for me has really resonated as a why. So all that to say, I needed to hear from somebody, I think. And so I'm going to say now, like, take the time. For me, it took a lot of time to find a why that's compelling to you. And for me, it like wasn't many of the traditional things that I've heard. And so really taking that time was helpful for me. My why at this point, and I know it's sort of, I always hear it evolves over the time of people's coaching. My why, which was hard for me at first, is like really about me. It's about the spark that I needed in my life. It's about sort of like the freedom and opportunities that coaching is opening up to me in my life. And it's about wanting to share that with others and wanting to help others find that same thing that I found. But I found that along with the personal development that's on the slide, like I had to really start with me, and that sort of felt uncomfortable. But I think that me getting to a place where I am more comfortable and confident in myself and in my life and in what I want in my life is helping me to help others get closer to themselves in my work as a coach. And so that was something also sort of a discovery that I made recently. And then the final thing here in finding my why is really finding coaches who you relate to and connect with. So there are both the coaches on our team. When I decided like I'm going to jump all in, I reached out to Amy, who I know is all in and was someone who I've connected with before. And I was like, can we get on the phone and talk, because I want to figure out what the heck I'm going to do. So there's the coaches on our team, but I've also looked sort of at coaches in the network beyond just our immediate team to find people who I really relate to. So an example of this, I'm going to talk a little bit later about the Dynasty social media surge. That's a resource that was led a couple of years ago by Lindsay Matway and all of the coaches within her organization. But on there, I listened to a video from Keisha Fitzgerald and was really inspired by her and her story and some of the similarities that I heard in her story to my own. And so she's someone who I don't know, but follow on Facebook and follow on Instagram and sort of get that inspiration from someone who I relate to. And so that has been really helpful to me in sort of seeing a model for what I want to make this business in my life. So once I had my why, that helped me say, like, I am going all in. And that's the big one that I want to spend most of the time talking about, like what I've done to really go all in, because I think that's helped me to see the success that I have over the last couple of months. So I'm going to actually talk about each of these things on the slide on an individual slide in a moment. So I'm going to go into more depth. But the things that have been most important for me are to be really consistent with the vital behaviors, to make my business non-negotiable in my life, to get out of my comfort zone consistently, to find a way to see success, and then to spend time on the actions that matter. And so in this area, again, it was really about like jumping in with both my feet and trying to drag that foot that's always been on shore away from it. A couple of different books have really helped me here. And so I think of this as more like my more business-oriented personal development that I make time to do every day. The Slight Edge was exactly what I needed to hear at the time I started reading it on October. And it's been a huge game changer for me. I can't recommend it highly enough if you have not read it. And then 12-week year I'm reading now, but they're really about being consistent, following through on actions. And that's been what's been most helpful for me right now. So the first one, being consistent with the vitals. I've always sort of given myself excuses out of some of these in the past. And so when I decided that I was going to jump all in, this was the first step, was being really consistent. And for me, the place where I've always struggled the most is with inviting. And so when I have found more success with inviting when I have done these three other things that are at the top of the slide. The first is posting really consistently. So I've sort of gone in waves over time as a coach of how consistently I post and share my journey. And when I went all in October, it was interesting because I was doing the ultimate reset. And so my typical, like, let me share my journey is to share my workout. And I wasn't working out because I was doing the ultimate reset. So I think it really pushed me to think outside the box and what I was sharing and to really think about like adding value and showing consistency in other ways. So that was the first step, was being consistent in my posts. New friend requests is something that I did not ever do in my business for a long time. I remember being on team calls before and hearing Michelle talk about like, you've got to add new friends. And I was like, I don't really know how to add new friends. If I'm not friends with them now, how am I going to get them? So I just never did that. Amy told me in this time when we talked on the phone, like, you got to add new friends. And so I was like, all right, I'm going to figure out how to add new friends. And so I started doing that, and they would then become my friend and see my posts. And so I would then reach out often to those new friends, and they would connect. They would ask right away, like, what are you doing? You seem really into health and fitness. You're sharing a lot about your nutrition. Tell me more about that. And so by doing those things together, like having the posts, having new friends who I then reached out to and said hello, we sort of started a conversation that gave me fodder for invites. So I've always felt uncomfortable and inauthentic if I just like reach out and do an invite out of the blue. That's not something that felt good to me in the business. And so having this combination, I've just really seen it comes up so much more naturally in conversation because I'm consistent and because I'm consistently connecting, that then there's an opening to do an invite and it feels a lot more natural to me. The next thing for me is to make it non-negotiable. So I had a little bit of an aha that when I started with Beachbody back 2 years ago, doing a workout every day was really hard for me. I would be traveling for work and it would be hard for me to get up in the morning because I was changing time zones. If I didn't do it in the morning, I would not do it. It would be really hard to do it at night because I'd be busy or tired or go out to dinner or something else. And I just decided, like, this is something I'm going to do every day. I'm going to find 30 minutes to do it. And it became a non-negotiable in my life. And sure, there are still days I don't feel like working out, but like for the most part, I get up and I work out because I've said that that's what I'm going to do. And so I had this aha that was like, why not do that in my business? So one of the things I've found with my workout is if I don't do it in the morning, it's really hard for me to do it. And so I've done the same thing with my business to say, I can find 30 minutes, I can get up 30 minutes earlier, and I can just make that a non-negotiable in my morning time, do it before work. So it's before anything else starts my day. So that has been something that's really been a game changer for me. And in many ways, it's just like mental in my mind that I say, I'm going to do it. I have struggled with tracking over time as well. And part of it has always been like, I don't know what the right targets are for me, given that I was new in the business and I wasn't very comfortable with many of the vital behaviors. And so I think I often was overthinking it and using that as an excuse not to track. So the tracker that I've been using with some variation for the last couple of months has my daily things like workout, Shakeology, PD, et cetera. But the big ones for me that have been really important are 5 new friend requests, 5 connections. And so for connections, I actually got this tip from the National Wake Up Call a week or two ago. I think of connections in a few buckets. One is those new friends who I've been requesting. If they say yes, I send them a message and I'm like, hey, how are you? Long time no see. Or, great to connect with you. I can't believe we never crossed paths when we were in X, Y, and Z place that I think we might have known each other. So that's one group of connections. The next is people who interact on my posts. And then the third is people that I never see on Facebook. So people who interact on my posts is easy. It's like, thank you so much for liking my post, and then ask some sort of a question related to the post that they liked. But this people I never see on Facebook was the new one that I heard from the National Wake Up Call, where I literally just scroll like way back in my friends list, and people who I haven't talked to forever and I'm not currently very connected with, I just send them a message out of the blue, like, hey, it's been so long. How are you? What's new in your life? Ask them something about what's on their page, but really just connect way back with someone I haven't heard from in a long time. Posting is sometimes really hard for me, especially in the week when my day is really boring. I like wake up, work out, go to work, come home, eat dinner, go to bed. So I aim for 3 posts, but because I track weekly, sometimes during the week, that's just my daily workout post that I post every day and my daily sort of inspirational post that I post every day. And I sort of add more on the weekends or on days that I do something a little bit more interesting than what I just described. But my goal with my posts is to really be consistent in my journey and share what that is like with people, not just, hey, I worked out, but actually, why did I work out? What was it like getting up? How have I developed this habit? How does it connect to my challenge group, et cetera? And really trying to add value with my posts, whether that's through recipes, I find is one of the biggest value areas, talking about water, talking about something else that's adding value to people's life. And then, like I said, invites has been hard for me, and I've sort of varied this over time. But I aim for 1 to 3 invites per day. So my goal, I think of invites much more at the weekly level. My goal when I started was 7 invites per week, and now I'm doing 21 invites per week. But I really actually give myself the flexibility to vary that with where I am in the month and where I am in the cycle of conversations. So if it's the beginning of the month and I know I'm like I don't have anything super soon to invite to, I like don't do as many invites then. And when it's right before my challenge group, I do a lot more invites. Or if I've just started a lot of conversations, like when I started in October, I actually like didn't have an invite goal because I wanted to let those conversations evolve. And then I increased my invite goal another week. So I give myself a little bit of flexibility there to make sure that I'm actually able to have authentic invites, which has been really meaningful to me. The next thing that's been really important to me in going all in is to get out of my comfort zone, which again, something I hear all the time. But for me, it's been really about like not overthinking it and just doing it. And so if I make myself do my business work in the morning, I know I have a limited amount of time. I cannot hem and haw or waste time. I have to just like do the thing. That's been really helpful. So has finding an accountability partner. So I've gotten a lot of accountability and support from Amy. Nicole and I have become accountability partners. And so making that commitment that's as specific as possible, like I'm going to invite 21 people. I'm going to follow up with you and tell you that I did it, gives me that extra accountability. And then the thing that's been really crazy is that each new thing I do gets easier. So I've really just been on this kick for 2.5 months, but I've seen such an evolution in so many of the daily behaviors that I do. So when I first started as a coach, a year and a half ago as an active coach, posting about my workouts felt really weird. And I felt really nervous to post it. I felt like I looked weird in my selfies. People are going to be like, what are you doing? That now is just a part of my day. I don't think about it. Same thing when I started going live. I felt really uncomfortable, like I was going to sound weird and no one was going to join and what was I doing? I just said let me do it. And now it's not something that makes me very nervous. I need to still do it more often, but it's something that's just gotten more comfortable. Friend requests is the biggest one that in the last 2.5 months I've evolved in. Like I said, I never did friend requests. And when I started doing it, I was sort of at an opportune time that I had left a job in the summer and many of the people who I used to work with, I wasn't friends with on Facebook. So initially those friend requests could be many of those people, and it wasn't super hard. And I remember about a month or so ago, I was like, Amy, I'm running out of people to request. What am I going to do now? And she was like, well, you got to request friends of friends and people who it seems like you might know, but you don't. And I could not picture inviting a stranger to be my friend. And it was so funny. I sat down last night because I overslept my alarm and didn't do my morning work. So I was trying to get it in quickly in the evening. And I sent out 5 requests, all to people who I did not actually know. It would be people who we had 8 friends in common. I was clearly you probably worked in education in DC. Maybe we crossed paths, but I don't know you. Invite sent. And many of them are being my friends and we're making connections and meeting new people. So that one's been a really crazy one where I just start doing it and now I don't really think about it. Same thing on connections and invites. Connections, I felt really weird at first. Even some of the people I friend requested, reaching out and saying hello to them. I felt like that just seemed random and out of the blue. But as I held myself accountable to doing it, I got such positive feedback. So just the other day, I reached out to someone who wasn't even a good friend from high school. She was someone I barely knew in high school who I recently connected with. Or recently friend requested. And she and I are now connected and we're having this great conversation about her life now back in my hometown where I grew up. And she started with, oh my gosh, Jess, it's so wonderful to hear from you. How are you? How are things? So someone that I didn't even really know, we have this really positive connection now. And I would have never guessed that when I was really nervous about making connections. And same thing with invites. This is still the area right now I am working on building my team of coaches, and inviting coaches is the next thing that I'm still really scared of and just starting to get out of my comfort zone on doing. But the people who I have asked, no one has signed up yet, but I will get there. The people I've asked have had really positive responses, even if they're not ready or not sure or want to talk about it in a couple of weeks. It's all been really positive. And so I know you get those negative things, but it's been helpful to me to see how nothing ever seems actually as scary as I thought it was once I get out of my comfort zone and do it. And things that used to seem so scary are now just a part of my daily routine. So the very, very, very biggest thing that has helped me is to see success. So I said that when I jumped in October, I was I'm going to try this, giving it my all until Christmas and just see what I think, if I like it, what I want it to do in my life. But I think you could get the same impact by just really committing to being consistent for a month. And if you really give it your all, I really believe that all of those things, those vital behaviors actually add up to getting the type of success that I have been beginning to see in the last 2 months. So that to me was really critical, because I am someone who I think the biggest reason that I've like left my foot on the shore over time and not jumped in with 2 feet is I am successful in a lot of what I do. And I did not ever really feel like this was something that I could be successful in. I was not someone who like started and everyone was like, oh my God, what are you doing? Let me join. So I've like really had to ask people over time. And so I think that led me to think like, I can't be successful in this. And I sort of put up walls to protect myself that if I'm not going to be successful, like I'm just not going to try that hard. And then if I don't push myself, it's okay if I like don't get there, because I know I'm not really trying that hard. So like giving it my all for me was really important. And then seeing success helps me connect. Like if I'm consistent and give it my all, I can actually be successful. So the specific things I did in October that helped me, one was to do a free group and really go all in with it. So I did the plank challenge group that I know lots of others on our team did as well. And it was just a really great one for me for a few reasons. One, I think it was a month, because it was a month long, we had really consistent engagement. And so people got to really see what the group was like. It was something that everyone's like, yeah, I can do planks. Like, let me get involved. It was something that was just like easy and had lots of interest on the front end, and then lots of people who participated throughout. So that was really helpful. For me, I had never led a challenge group by myself. I've always only been in challenge groups with other people. And if I'm like being honest and reflecting, really sat in the back seat of all of those challenge groups. So I knew that if I was going to go all in, I had to actually do a challenge group myself. And so at the beginning of October, I said, like in 2 weeks in the middle of October, I'm going to do a 21-day fix challenge group and do it all by myself. And so that sort of lit the fire under my butt that I've got a challenge group. I have to actually have people in it. Like I can't have one person sign up and be like, hey, we're in a challenge group. This is so fun. So I was like, I've got to actually get people to do my challenge group with me. The thing I found really successful about that challenge group was I did 21-day fix and we all did that program together. So I was doing it. It was like a more intro program that I think anyone can do and get started with. It's the one that I got started with. And so it was really easy for me to like go live and talk about the program and say, here's what I'm going to do. Here's why I'm going to do it. This is the one I got started on my journey with. I'm so excited to come back to it. Like, here are the containers. This is how we're going to eat food. Here's the shake. This is why it's awesome. Here's what the workouts are like. And it was really specific. And so people could say like, oh, I could do that, rather than generally like, hey, let's do a group. Let's exercise. So that was just helpful for me. And I was also able to be really vulnerable, both in those live videos and in my post, to say like, this is the first time I'm doing it by myself. I would love for you to join me. And I had more people with more interest in joining me for I think those 3 reasons. One, I was able to talk really specifically about the program because we were all doing the same thing. It was an intro type program. So I did 21-day fix, like T25 or PIO or others that are sort of easily accessible to people who are new, are also great for this. And then like for me, doing it by myself and being able to be vulnerable about that really helped people want to join me. And then the biggest thing is I, did see that success in October when I started. And so now I know that it's possible. I know that I can be consistent and do the actions and get to some success. And so even now, if my success fluctuates, I know that it's about me and my actions. And so seeing that success in a month, I decided to give it my all was something that was really helpful to me. The final thing that was important to me in going all in, and this one has been huge, is to spend my time on the actions that matter. So like I said at the beginning, I'm super busy. I do not have a lot of extra time to spend on Beachbody, as I know nobody does who's in our team. Everyone's busy in so many different ways. So I've had to prioritize the things that are gonna make the biggest difference to my business. So one thing that I've done, third category of PD, we had personal PD, business PD. The third I think of is my Beachbody specific PD, helps me know what are the actions that make the biggest difference and that are actually going to propel my business forward. So there are a lot of things I watch and listen to for this. One is Melanie Mitro's podcast. I listen to the National Wake Up Call on podcasts. I mentioned the Dynasty Income Surge and the Dynasty Social Media Surge, which were groups that were sometime last year, I think. I'd be happy, they still exist on Facebook, although they're not active. I'd be happy to add people to them, but I found tons of great content in there. But really things that are specific to what does this business look like? What are the things that matter the most? And those two in particular let me see tons of different people in this business and what their paths are like. and what they have done with it. So that has been really helpful to me. I have talked about a lot of PD, and I think I could easily, as someone who likes to develop myself, spend my time just doing PD and spinning my wheels around that. So one thing that I've really committed to is saying I'm going to do one action based on what I learn from everything I listen to or watch. So an example from that national wake-up call that I mentioned the other day, the woman who was on there talked about tracking her business by using a notebook like this and listing 1 through 26, because her notebook had 26 lines. Mine has 24 lines, but that's what she did for her connections for her power hour. And so the last few days, that's what I've been doing. I was like, let me try that. It sounds like a different strategy. And she suggested doing the 1 through 26, mine is 1 through 24. Those are your connections for the day. And the first set is the new friends. The middle set is the people who interacted on your posts. And then the final set is people who you don't ever see on Facebook. So I'm trying it right now. It might not be something that I stick with, but it's my one action based on what I learned there that I'm trying. And to my point about my tracker being flexible, I've actually shifted my tracker this week. I'm going to commit to doing 3 of these power hours per week, which means if I do that, I should get 75 connections. So that's my goal for connections. So I'm adjusting that based on the actions that I'm taking in a particular week. One of the biggest things that has helped me, which seems really silly when I say it, is that I have stopped scrolling Facebook. So I used to spend a lot of time scrolling Facebook, sort of commenting on things. When I decided that I was really going to commit to my business for this period of time and see what that was like, I was like, I don't have time. October was the month I started. It was my very busiest month of work. I was doing the ultimate reset, which takes a ton of prep. I was like, I don't have time to actually add this business thing on top of it unless I change something. And so I committed to saying I'm just going to get on Facebook to do the things I need to do on Facebook. I'm going to make my connections. I'm going to add new friends. I'm going to invite people, have conversations. I'm going to check in with my challenge groups, my team, our team page, etc. Interact with my posts and do my posts. But I'm not going to spend idle time on Facebook. And that has been, it sounds really silly to say, but such a huge game changer for me, because it was so much time that I realized I was just sucking into scrolling and seeing what was there. So that is time that I have really repurposed to be purposeful. The other thing that is silly is I have stopped really watching Netflix. I used to sort of reward myself when I'd come home from work with I might watch 2 to 3 episodes of something tonight. I now will rarely, say I'm going to watch this episode of something I care about, but I've sort of cut some of those extra things that I felt were time sucks in my life. The story that makes me laugh there, my mom keeps being like, well, didn't you see that happened on Facebook? And I was like, Mom, I told you I really don't look at Facebook anymore. She thinks I'm on there all the time because she sees my posts, but I'm actually trying to be really disciplined in that area. And the final thing in terms of that being discipline is to do my most valuable actions first. So this is something that I've heard in lots of that Beachbody specific PD. It's really easy to spend a lot of time figuring out what the perfect tracking system is. So I'm someone who's super organized and type A and likes things to be pretty. I could spend a lot of time trying to make a great tracking system. And instead I'm well, I'm just going to use this book. It's probably not the perfect thing, but it means that I can just get started. And eventually, I would love to learn Google Streak or some of the other things that are out there, but right now I don't have time. And I think in the past I would have said, I'm going to spend that time over there creating that new thing. When what I need to do is just take action, and I can improve that and learn new things along the way as it makes sense for me. And so that's been something that's been really big. And so I will tell you, I do not always invite first thing, but I do invite in that first block, my morning block of time. But sort of in the things that make the biggest difference in our business are things like inviting, following up on invites, connections, challenge group check-ins, post interactions, et cetera, et cetera. And so I try and spend my time on that. And I can then fill in later in the day, responding to messages or adding an additional post or going in and responding to people on a post that's already been written. But I try and really pack my work time with those most valuable actions and then stay off Facebook unless I'm being intentional about doing something else for business along the way. So I have talked a ton, and I hope that this has been helpful. But one of the things that I said at the front was really committing to action based on what you hear or learn or listen to. So my computer is not letting me see you again, but I would love if there's anybody who's like taking something away, I would love to hear what one action is that you're committing to. If anything, really clicked with you based on what I shared.
Jess, if you hit stop screen share,
oh yes,
then you'll be able to see us.
Yeah, there you are.
Jess, I just want to thank you so much for jumping on the call. I'm so proud of you, and it's just been amazing and so inspiring to watch you dive in. The biggest thing, and I think a time suck that I often fall into, is the scroll. So tomorrow morning when I pick up my phone, I'm not going to scroll, and then I'll eventually message you or text message you to see if I did it.
Good. I would love that.
Anyone else have an action?
I'm going to stop the scroll. That can be a new hashtag. Stop the scroll.
That could be next week's hashtag.
Yeah, we'll add it in.
Yeah.
Great job, Jess. Proud of you.
Thank you.
I was going to say what you were saying about like listening to a lot of PD really resonated with me because I do the same thing. Like I listen to so much PD or read a lot. And, but lately, a lot of the PD I've been listening to has been like, you don't need to listen to PD all day long. You actually need to take action on these things. Like you don't need to, I forget the word they were saying. It was something like the word saturate, but like you don't need to consume is the word. You don't need to consume so much. You need to put out. So, in a not like dating way. So, so yeah, that's something I'm going to be working on.
Cool.
I think I loved like your honesty, Jess, and how you talked about going all in and talking about being consistent with all vital behaviors, going all in for a month, because, you know, I see and hear a lot of people that don't necessarily go all in and they're saying, you know, this isn't working for me, this isn't working for me, this is working for me. But I love your honesty saying that you went all in, you saw success, and you know that it's obviously a direct correlation to your action. And that honesty is important. I think that's great. I think that you recommended some awesome PD, especially for this end of the year time. If you haven't read the Slight Edge or 12-week year, I know I read the 12-week year last year around this time. Both are awesome suggestions. So if you are looking for PD, those are great. I did want to mention that I believe the Dynasty Income Surge and Dynasty Social Media Surge, I believe those are in the file section, all the videos. But I will have to check back. But I did try to get them all in there when they were closing up those groups. But yeah, and then I love how Jess talked about, I hope that you're encouraged to take action and realize those scary things that, you know, may seem scary now are just going to get easier. You can see, I think we've all witnessed Jess gaining confidence with what she's doing because she's taken action, and that's why. So I've definitely seen it. I've seen so much growth in you lately, Jess. So thank you so much. You gave some amazing tips. You guys need to re-listen, or maybe you screenshotted some of the things, or whatever, some awesome tips that she shared. Since it's I have one last thing, but since it's our last call, can we take a picture? Who's not Lola and Casey? Okay. Can we see you, Lola? Maybe. All right. I'm warning you, so then we can smile. Ready? All right, Lola, last chance to show your beautiful face. Ah, there you go. Okay. All right. 1, 2, 3. One more. Okay. Okay, one last thing before we head off. I thought this was a great way to close it, our last team call. So some of the leaders and I came up with we talked about coming up with a team mission for all of us, something that represents our team. So if you guys remember, a few weeks ago, I asked you to tell me some words that you think of when you think of Team Fit and Focus. So I there were a lot of you that responded, which was awesome. So thank you of those of you who did. But I took a lot of those words and I compiled them into our official mission statement for 2018. So here it is. The mission of Team Fit and Focus is to love, serve, and encourage individuals to step into a healthier lifestyle through fitness, nutrition, and personal development. Our community includes strong, fearless, and perfectly imperfect coaches who empower, support, and inspire each other. We are committed to positive change and influence in 2018. So that is how I am going to close out our last team call. Thank you, Jess, so much. Thank you for all of you that hopped on, and I hope that you all have a wonderful evening.
Thanks,
Bye.
everybody.